Women held a rather difficult role in feudalist society. As typical in most of history, women were the ones who stayed at home, while men went out and worked. It was not unusual for a woman to learn how to wield a weapon. They used them to defend their castles, for warrior women, which was not incredibly common, but not unheard of, and for hunting. Women did have a lot of work to do at home, mostly involved in sewing and spinning, weaving, and such like that. They also did very elaborate tapestries, which took a very long time to make. Women were also responsible for the cooking of food in peasant households. In aristocratic households, that would be the cook's job. In their spare time, women of all classes engaged in various artistic hobbies, from writing to painting to dancing to playing instruments. Women occupied many jobs in the medieval society, such as being blacksmiths, merchants, apothecaries, midwives, or field workers. The difference in classes was made plain by clothing. A peasant woman would usually be wearing a long dress with a wimple to cover her hair. An aristocratic woman would be wearing a long flowing gown with an interesting hat. And then there are witches, of course. Witches actually did play a pretty prominent role in medieval society. Mostly they were a subject of fear, though. And they wore cool hats, very cool hats. Speaking of clothing, the Poor Clare sisters of the Franciscan Order of Nuns had to ask the Pope special permission in order to wear woolen socks. Nuns are actually pretty cool. They live in convents, or nunneries, and nunneries are pretty cool because they're a good place for travelers to stay. And also, nuns help people. Nuns are nice people. Very nice people. One of the most important things about this is that nuns were able to have a higher position in society than ever before through the church. In a mixed monastery, an abbess would usually have hierarchy over a monk, which is a really big step. One of the most famous abbesses was Hildegard von Bingen from the village of Bingen in Germany. When she was little, she had visions about the apocalypse. That's nice. And when she grew up, she wrote books about it. And as a result, she became Saint Hildegard von Bingen and was one of the most famous abbesses and composers and poets in history. Another big name, Joan of Arc. As you probably know, she had spirits visit her when she was little, and they told her to go help the King of France reclaim his territory from England. And she's fairly successful in this. In the end, however, she was burned at the stake for being a witch. Oh, look, it's the little witch again. Hello, little witch. Eleanor of Aquitaine is next, and when she was 15 years old, she was orphaned and her brother died, and she became, as a result of that, the richest woman of all of Europe. Then she got married to the King of France, Louis VII, and they had 2 kids. But then he took her to the Second Crusade, and she didn't enjoy it very much, so they got divorced, and she went and got married to the King of England 2 months later. And they had 8 kids, the oldest of which was Richard the Lionhearted, the famous hero of the Third Crusade. And she went through the rest of her life. She lived a pretty good long life. She was a significant patron of the arts, which is what she's most famous for, and she played a rather large role in the government of England.
Created using Powtoon.